Every video game has some sort of protagonist, and with Assassin's Creed Mirage, if you didn't know, we'll be playing as Basim. Basim was one of the main characters within Assassin's Creed Valhalla and ended up being the final boss battle of the game. And with Mirage, as it is set just 20 years before the events of Valhalla, we're going to be playing as him, but as a much younger version. So in this video, we're going to be going through everything that you need to know about Basim. So firstly, going all the way back to the beginning, his birth. Basim was born in the year 835 in Samarra, a city in Iraq, which stands on the east bank of Tigris in the Saladin Governorate. Basim was the son of an architect who was responsible for the construction of the Great Mosque of Masara. For a while, the mosque was actually the largest in the world, a spiraling cone 57 meters high and 33 meters wide. Unfortunately, Basim's father was late exiled and died in poverty after someone took credit for his work. His mother also died whilst he was very young, but her cause of death remains unknown. Maybe it will play a part within Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, because of the unfortunate circumstances with his birth, growing up, it led to Basim growing up as an orphan in the streets of Baghdad, the location in which Assassin's Creed Mirage is set. Now, with Assassin's Creed Mirage, it's going back to the classic roots of the AC style. The world is going to be a lot smaller, but much more dense and alive, and Baghdad is perfect for this. During the Abbasid period, it was one of the foremost cultures, intellectual and economic centers of the world, presiding over the Islamic Golden Age. At the age of just 17, Basim made a living being a street thief on the streets of Baghdad. Although Basim struggled with nightmarish visions of the Jinn as a consequence of Loki's consciousness manifesting within his mind, it didn't take long for this to affect his work. This is exactly what we see in the Assassin's Creed Mirage cinematic trailer. Before Basim was captured, he was rescued by the Master Assassin Roshan, a former slave hidden one who obtained the rank of Master Assassin based at the stronghold of Alamut. Roshan ended up recruiting Basim into the Brotherhood and became his mentor, an honorific title given to leaders of the Assassin Brotherhood who had obtained an extraordinary amount of skill and wisdom and used their skills to tutor aspiring apprentices such as Basim at the time. As a quick side note, with Assassin's Creed Mirage and gameplay as well as story, we will be seeing this happening. You will meet Basim when he is first starting out as a street thief and then climb through the ranks, where he does finally meet Roshan, who does bring him into the Assassin Brotherhood, and then you will be able to climb through the ranks from apprentice all the way to Master Assassin. This is the journey that will be shared within Assassin's Creed Mirage, so we will get to see all of this. After a while, Basim became a Master Assassin, but unfortunately began to suffer from manic episodes once again due to Loki's increase in influence. After intense but brief struggle to reconcile his memories and Loki, Basim became fully aware of a reached mutual understanding with his past life. This leads us into 861, the beginning of Assassin's Creed Mirage, set in the 9th century of Baghdad. Assassin's Creed Mirage has us playing as Basim and joining him on his journey as he continues his life as an assassin. Basim is a bit different to other characters we've played within the series because he's faster and more agile. Everything that he managed to learn as a street thief is incorporated into him becoming a master assassin. In the cinematic trailer, we can see that he's not particularly great at parkour, but he is incredibly quick and has the ability to run away from enemies while still interacting with the environment. This should lead to some much more entertaining chases where you're running away, but also because of that fast-paced agility, it should also lead to there being more opportunities for you to sneak past enemies, as you're able to get from point A to point B a lot quicker without the guards really detecting you, as long as you do take the right path. He's able to jump up buildings and climb over walls at a faster pace compared to previous characters within the series such as Ezio, Eivor, and even Arno, who has been seen as having some of the best parkour abilities. This will have a significant impact on gameplay as the parkour systems and general movement could change and feel a lot faster in all aspects. Now, going on from what we actually know about this stage of Basim's life, there's not much. Reason for this is because this is the premise of the whole of the next title, Assassin's Creed Mirage itself. So Ubisoft have kept certain parts very secretive. Even in Valhalla, you don't have much lore at this stage of his life, mainly because they were holding it back for what was originally going to be DLC, but now is a full title. So when it comes to Mirage, we only know a limited amount of information from the year 861, going all the way to the events of Valhalla, which was just 20 years later. This bit is all a blur. We know that he's a street thief, and we know that he gets to Master Assassin. We know that he's haunted by visions of a Jinn, and that Loki has manifested himself within. But that's about it. We don't know the events that happened during this time, but we do know quite a bit of his later life. In 861, after the events of Assassin's Creed Mirage, Basim and Hytham travel to Constantinople to foil an assassination plot by the newly installed Emperor Basil. Just 3 years later, Basim was dispatched to fight against the Order of the Ancients in Northern Europe, with Hytham assigned by their mentors. During this time, they were stationed at the capital of Constantinople, and at this point, Basim served as the bureau's leader. Basim later traveled to Antioch with Hytham. Antioch is a city within the south of Turkey, close to the Orontes River. Their aim was to fight the Snakes Eater, a new faction of the Order of the Ancients taking control of the city. However, the Antioch Bureau, a guild of assassins located within the Levant, the leaving branch of the Order during the Crusade era, was decimated by the conflict, and Basim actually sent letters to his brothers requesting reinforcements. Eventually, Basim and the Hidden One successfully drove the Snake Eaters away from Antioch. As he had matters to attend back in Constantinople, Basim left his apprentice and sent the 6 other assassins after the Snake Eaters' leadership on the Silk Road, a network of trade routes that linked together Eastern and Western civilizations. A while after, a felon Hidden One informed him of Amon's mission in Bulgar and his death. Disappointed in his death, his interest was piqued when the Hidden One told Basim of a Norseman with a mark on his neck. He then set out to meet this Norseman and learned his identity was Sigurd. Basim and Hytham befriended Sigurd and agreed to join him on his return to Norway. This now brings us to the events of Valhalla. Basim and Hytham arrived in Thornburg with Sigurd. Here they met Eivor and held a feast that night to commemorate Sigurd's return. Eivor later received a gift from Sigurd, Amon's hidden blade. Hytham opposed this, but Basim stepped in and allowed it. The group then stepped out of the longhouse onto a training ground to train Eivor in the use of the weapon. Along the way, Basim provided more introduction on the Hidden One's creed and values to Eivor. At the training ground, Basim even taught Eivor the various ways of assassinating targets with the hidden blade, and this really was the start of Eivor's journey. With Eivor throughout the events of Valhalla, you don't have too much of an interaction with him. He only plays in certain parts. You'll meet him initially right at the beginning, but once you travel over to England, he is still found within your community, but doesn't have too much to say. It's not until later when 4K takes Sigurd that Basim becomes a bigger part and is helping Eivor and has many missions with him in order to find Sigurd. Once Sigurd is found and brought back to the community, Basim goes missing again. Still part of the community, but you just don't have as many missions with him. And this brings us to the end of the main story within Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We've reached the end of Basim's journey. Eivor and Sigurd travel to Fjord in the north of Hordafike. There they find the ancient Isu ruin containing the Yggdrasil, an Animus-like supercomputer. After Eivor and Sigurd continuously go through the loop of this computer and eventually exit, they are met with a bit of a surprise. They come across Basim. Basim has been tracking both Sigurd and Eivor all the way from England. At this point, Basim is consumed by Loki's memories and attacks both Sigurd and Eivor. After a very intense battle, Eivor managed to win the fight and Basim was trapped within the device. It wasn't until many years later, we're talking present day with Layla, where she takes a trip to the Norwegian vault, plugs herself into the exact same simulation, where she does finally get to talk to Basim, as well as what could potentially be Desmond, still not 100% sure on that. But when Layla touches an apple of Eden, Basim disappears. He is taken out of the simulation and falls on the staff, which allows him to heal himself, considering he's hundreds of years old at this point. And now this makes Basim the modern day protagonist. Now with Basim's journey, there are a lot of grey areas, mainly during the stage in which Mirage is set, but that's the reason why they're pushing this game. That's the reason why we will be tracking Basim's journey, so that we can find more about that specific period. But as for now, this is the complete overview of everything that we do know about Basim and what you need to know before going into Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, if you want to know everything else about this game, then we have already done a much more in-depth video where we don't talk too much about the lore, but we do talk about all the gameplay features that will be added. That video is now on screen. So if you would like to see that, click that and I'll be over there to guide you through everything that you need to know about Assassin's Creed Mirage.